This year marks the first time I participate Pride in an entirely new way. For years I've supported Pride, been to rallies, encouraged friends to participate, and enjoyed the celebration of LGBTQ plus visibility. But this year is the first time Pride has come around since I've come out openly to myself, my family, and to the world as to my authentic self. Like many stories of transition, mine has been filled with challenges, frustration, anxiety, relief, joy, and lots of gratitude. I've been lucky that my transition has been smoother than the experience told by so many other transgender people. I've been lucky to have the benefit of a life's worth of experience, the financial stability to make significant life changes, the supportive laws in New Hampshire and California where I was born, a supportive employer, and most importantly, a loving and accepting family. I try every day to maintain some humility because I know too that there are still significant challenges for our community across the country as a whole. But coming out as transgender, with every intention of living openly as myself and giving up nothing, was daunting. I know that I've had a blessed and privileged life. I've had struggles to survive. I've worked hard. I've tried to do well. And I'm also cognizant that my life has benefited by the opportunities that were more accessible due to my race, my gender, and economic standing. But I, as we all know, had a secret. A dissonance buried so deeply and held so tight that I barely let myself in on this secret. I was not the person everyone saw in me. How I saw and truly felt about myself was incongruent with how the world saw me. And deep down, even early in life, I just knew that if I wanted to have the rest of my life work, it might be something better locked away. And in some ways, maybe I was right. I mean, I got the wonderful spouse, great kids, a decent job, and plenty of opportunities. The rest of the world never saw the dissonance. But then when I became a parent, still deeply unaware and unable to see my own truth, I knew that I never wanted my children to feel that same degree of dissonance. I always tried to be an ally for them and model what that behavior meant before either of us even really might know what it could mean. But unconsciously, I surrounded myself in accepting communities and saw suddenly that my children becoming advocates, allies themselves, and willing to claim their own identities. See, it was watching my children who were living open, intentional lives that forced me to realize that I had not given that same opportunity to myself. I could no longer hide within the mask that no one even knew I was wearing. I knew I was going to have to come out to myself, and of course by doing so, come out to the world as the woman I'd buried away so long ago. I think one of the hardest and most terrifying parts of this were first in overcoming the biases and narratives that had shaped my own thinking and self-image. I had to throw out the sort of lifelong taught assumptions of what being transgender meant, especially about me, but that the only test in identifying as a woman was really to just own my own identity. Next, of course, was overcoming the fear of what this would mean to my immediate family. I had to have faith that my partner and children were exactly the accepting, loving, strong, and committed people that I really knew them to be. But it's not enough to feel safe at home or in my own skin. I do want to live in the world. So I spent time learning about the experience of others. I researched the laws where I worked and traveled, and I was constantly shown how wide were the lack of protections that could leave me without work, without safety in public, and with no legal recourse, all depending on which state I happened to be in at that moment. Well, happily, as of this week, we have at least one more step toward being seen and protected fully in federal law. This is good news. That's news worth celebrating, but we still need to go beyond what the law can do for us. I first really noticed how the world perceived me when I traveled for work as a frequent and trusted traveler. Instantly, I went from going through, that additional screening maybe once every year, every other year, to being more deeply scrutinized about 60% of the time. What changed? Well, there was my clothing, the lack of beard that was not on my face but on my ID, the eyeshadow. Bad luck. I just can't believe that one. But what did seem clear was that wearing a skirt through the airport with a masculine name on one's ID is grounds for security concerns, because it could not possibly be profiling, prejudice, or against somebody's rules. Well, I started to prepare myself to choose not to fly. To not accept indignity, though, and to prepare my voice to calmly and firmly advocate for myself. And it was the little things that were suddenly very present to me. The small sarcastic comment said, just loud enough. The people giving me a second or third or pointing long look, and having to say, yes, that's me, when I had to show identification or use a credit card. It kind of reminded me of being bullied as a child. But when the opposite happened, being directed to the ladies' room when all I asked for was a toilet or a restroom, or a flight attendant calling me Ms. Young without prompt, when the flight manifest clearly still said Mr. Young. When a coworker called me just to say, thank you for being you, and I'm here if you need anything, before I even knew who I was. Then when I chose to come to work, presenting, well, what was the biggest topic of the day? The job we were there to do. It wasn't an issue. These are momentary explosions of light and acceptance, and they helped me claim my own identity. What a delight to discover allies in the world in places I never even thought to look. I did not yet have transgender role models or know of people's stories that aligned with my own. In many ways, I felt like I had just myself to find my way through this journey. But my allies, they came out of the woodwork. They treated me as a person, and that gave me the space and the strength and the confidence to jump into my transition wholeheartedly. Now I am Willow Young, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. But more importantly, I am visible. I realized very quickly that coming out was something that I would not have a choice but to have be seen. Unlike my lesbian, gay, and bisexual peers, people were going to see or guess this about me first. I needed to live and present authentically, while not divorcing myself from my past. I had to prepare myself to be a representative of the LGBTQ community, whether I or my family wanted it or not. And now I'm a model for those afraid of transition, and that it can happen successfully and safely. I'm a model to overcome bias just by living normally in the world. I model as an ally, whether it's by taking action, being willing to educate, or just wearing my pins. I continue to model accepting and validating others so they may do so for me. So I've decided that 2020 is about visibility. 2020 is perfect, uncorrected vision. 2020 is the year where we as a society, as a country, as individuals, are brought into the light and have the chance to be fully seen. The pain, discrimination, and institutional prejudice experienced by Black people is clearly being seen by more people. The clarity that someone who is lesbian, gay, bisexual, asexual, transgender, non-binary, questioning, queer, or just outside of the expected is also a person of value with gifts to offer the world. 2020 is where we see the experienced story of discrimination, and the whole of America can go, oh, wait, that's discrimination? And more importantly, just as importantly, this is the year when we see our allies with 2020 clarity. It's not enough for me to just stand up and be visible, to wear my pride pin, or to stand for my rights. I need our allies to stand up alongside of us and to say, no, that's wrong when discrimination is seen. It's incumbent that our allies model and are shown how to engage with people with acceptance and normalization. But they need to feel safe and supported and seen just as much while they stand by me and support me. And I've had lots of people say, I see you, thank you for your bravery. And it's kind of them. But the real bravery is from those who can choose to step up and model acceptance. So let 2020 be known for seeing you too. Because I'll be standing there with you for being brave enough to stand with others.